Alright, today we'll be adjusting valves on a Yamaha, late 80s Yamaha Warrior 350. So the first thing that we're going to do is find top dead center. I have a flat screwdriver here, pretty good sized screwdriver. Take this cap off here on the stator cover. And you can, if you have the pull starter on there, you can leave it on there. It's just a little bit harder to turn it. The other thing you're going to want to do is take a Allen wrench and pull this cam sprocket, cam chain cover off. So 2 Allen screws on either side here. Now we're going to adjust the valves on the intake side. So we'll just take this cover off here. You've got intake on this side where your carburetor is. You've got exhaust on the other side where your exhaust manifold is. So take those 2 covers off. Now what you're going to do is turn this recoil pull starter assembly, and you will see in here, you will see a 2 lines. One will say F, one will say T. You're going to spin that around until you see that. Now if you have your four-wheeler already timed already, then you can turn it until there's a line on the cam sprocket, until it lines up with the top of the cylinder head. There's a groove there right on the top, and you can line those 2 up. First you'll see the F, and then you'll see the T. You don't want to go too far. You want to line that T up right in the middle. You want to make sure your cam sprocket line on your sprocket here is lined up with the top groove on this cylinder head. So then what you're going to do is check the specs on here, and I have those written down here, and we will check, like I said, we'll be checking the intake. So it's 0.06 to 0.10 millimeters. So we'll find your feeler gauge here, and we've got standard and metric written on here, and we will just kind of go maybe middle of the line on here. So we'll go with 0.08 on the intake. Now what you're going to do is take a 10 millimeter, loosen up the lock nut, and take and slide your feeler gauge underneath here. And you're going to want to move your feeler gauge back and forth, and you want to be able to move it with a little bit of drag. You don't want too much, but you also don't want it too sloppy in there. And a way to check is to go ahead and put the next size bigger feeler gauge in there. If it does not go in, then you're probably okay. If the next size smaller goes in, then you may want to loosen up a little bit or whatever you need, but you want to make sure you get it so it's a little bit of drag but not too much. So then when we get it to where we want it to be, what I do is leave that feeler gauge in there, take and tighten up the lock nut. Okay, and sometimes you will tighten up the adjuster screw when you do it, so you want to double check again. And if you feel it there, it's got some drag but not too much, you want to be able to slide it through and slide it on out. Now your valves are adjusted correctly for the intake. And you'll do the same thing for the exhaust side. You'll leave it on top dead center, this center line here with the flywheel, center line with the cam sprocket, and do the same thing. And again, your specs on that would be 0.16 to 0.2 millimeters. And you can adjust that appropriately on this side. It's as simple as that. You can put the cap back on, put the cam sprocket back on, and you're all set.